Hi, everybody. Welcome to Good, the podcast for those that do. This is Shivo. I'm here with D-Fran, and tonight we have a special guest, a friend of ours named Ibu, who is the founder of Live, Breathe Futbol clothing line. The brand began back in November 2010, caught his first break in the spring of 2011 by winning a t-shirt design contest by the Philadelphia Union in the MLS. After that, his brand was featured in the Philadelphia Inquirer, Comcast Sportsnet, and he's got a host of professional soccer players wearing their clothing. Welcome, Ibu.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're happy to have you, man. So let's get started. And why don't you tell us the backstory of your brand, kind of how it got started, what inspired you, and what's going on currently?
Right. So I was a junior architecture student at Temple, and I'd always made T-shirts. Usually I used to paint them when I was in high school, and then for some reason when I turned 21, I kind of had this epiphany of what am I going to do with my life? I didn't want to just graduate, get a job, and that would be my life story. I wanted to do something special and something different. So I made this T-shirt design that said "Live Breathe Football" on it, and I got 21 of them printed up, and then they sold out in a couple of hours. And I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, just the fact that I was able to get 21 sales like that without actually having any prior clientele. So that was kind of how the brand started. But still being in school, it was a bit hard to make it into an actual business. But then when I graduated, I kind of had the confidence. I'd been doing it for about a year. And I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I don't want to go to grad school. I don't want to get a job. Like, I want to build this business. So since 2012, we've pretty much been going. We started releasing a collection at the end of 2012. So we did 2 collections a year. And then just ever since then, it's kind of picked up, bit by bit. And then now we're moving from doing just T-shirts and hats to making functional apparel. So we're making jackets, we're making pants. And we actually just have a Kickstarter that we launched a week ago to raise $25,000 to cover the manufacturing run for the new line, which is doing really well. In a week, we've raised over 50% of our goal. So yeah, things are going well. I'm really excited about the future of the brand and just the future of soccer apparel as a whole.
So how did you get the 21 sale? I mean, where did you market first? So you get the Live Breathe Football shirt. You're like, okay, day one, where am I going with this?
So prior to that, I had a Twitter account where all I did was talk about soccer. And, as you guys are probably familiar with Twitter, you tend to just gravitate to people that have the same interest as you. So when I put out the shirts, I literally made I think it was like a big cartel site, put it out, say, hey guys, I made these shirts. Like, if anyone wants them, like, you can get them. And people like who I've been talking to on Twitter bought the shirts. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, these people actually want to support what I'm doing. Because I had absolutely no idea if anyone would actually buy the shirts or not. But
it's not that much overhead. It's 21 shirts. It's like, what's that going to cost you? $5, $10 a shirt, whatever it is. It's like, it's not that much overhead, and you sold it in, the first day. And
I mean, actually,
could you guys imagine, like, 20 years ago, this could never happen? Like, how would you tell people I got a clothing company,
Right. And, it was, I picked up the shirts with some rinky-dink shops in, like, Camden, New Jersey. You know what I mean? Like, I took the train. It was actually the shirts cost $160, and I got that money from my sister because I didn't even have a job at the time. So, I kind of just started this thing as, like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to figure it out. And I guess being a bit just ambitious about it and just, got lucky with the T-shirt design competition that the union had. That definitely opened up a lot of doors for us and just let people in Philadelphia, like Philadelphia soccer space, know about our brand. So we were kind of able to really, not necessarily ride a wave, but really take advantage of, the local Philadelphia scene, Philadelphia soccer scene. And people just love the fact that we're local guys from Temple who, basically had a dream and they were willing to support us. And that was kind of how we built a loyal following of people. And then slowly, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
How are T-shirt design contests like judged or run? Like how's that work?
They all vary, but that particular one, they put up all the designs on their website and had people vote. And then they slowly like whittled it down to like semi-finalists, and then people vote again, and then eventually they pick the winner. And I was very lucky that it was that I was the one that won a competition, because then they got to sell the shirt at the club store in the stadium, which is pretty cool. I got to meet a lot of players and stuff like that. So it was definitely a good moment, because this happened maybe a month or so after I'd made the first batch of T-shirts. So that helped with momentum, because again, I'm still in college at this point. I probably had finals and stuff, so it wasn't even a business at that point. It was just a kid that wanted to make like cool soccer shirts. You know what I mean? So that definitely helped give people, or help people know about, oh wait, who's this kid making these like kind of cool different soccer shirts? You know what I mean? And that was really what kind of got us. That's really what got us going.
Very cool. What would you say going forward, like the inspiration to continue to create and to continue to market towards this population is? You know, like, what are you trying to accomplish?
You know, for us, there isn't a brand that exists solely to champion like the passionate, you know, soccer fans and players, people who are obsessed with the game of soccer the same way that we are. And we want to be that brand, right? You have Nike makes soccer cleats and so on and so forth. Adidas does the same thing, but they do that for every other sport. You know, for us, we want to say, look, we're a soccer brand. We're passionate about soccer. That's all we're going to focus on. And we know that almost half the planet, you know, are soccer fans. So we know there's enough, you know, potential customers out there that we can make a very strong and surviving business based off of that.
Yeah, there's no shortage of soccer fans.
So on the soccer, let's I want to get to soccer for a second. Is the equivalent of like Leicester City winning the Premier League, like if the Sixers were to win the NBA Finals this year, is that kind of what that is?
It's a little more improbable than that.
No way. It's more improbable.
Well, because the
Sixers, than the Sixers winning the whole thing.
Okay, I'm not a huge basketball fan, but imagine a team in like, you know, what's the division below the NBA, like the NBDL or whatever it is. Imagine somehow they ended up in the NBA, and 2 years later they won the NBA Finals. That's kind of what Leicester City winning.
Yeah, like, that's pretty crazy.
It's like the Rio Grande Vipers coming up and then in 2 years winning it all.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's like. I mean, there was a statistic I read that said all the improbable, like the sort of craziest sports odds in history, if you added them all up together, like all the craziest upsets in soccer and sports history, all those odds didn't add up to the 5,001 of Leicester winning the Premier League this year.
I mean, it's just crazy, man. And like, it went so under the radar. I remember, so what's it? It's May now. I remember probably in like middle of March or early April, I stumbled upon like the tables of the Premier League, and I'm like, wow, like what? It's odd that this team is. I've never heard this team before. Like it wasn't Arsenal or Liverpool or Chelsea or Man U. It was like I've never even heard of this. And then I found out they were like a relegated team for like a while, and which is kind of cool that soccer does that stuff. But you know, and then all of a sudden, like, wow, like, you didn't hear about this from ESPN until like 2 days before they won it. Like that's crazy. If this was truly like the Sixers making a playoff run and, you know, potentially winning the finals, it would be everywhere. And you didn't hear one thing about it. Like people still can't even pronounce it. They're like Leicester or whatever, you know, whatever they say. So
well, part of the reason, because the thing is, in soccer, so the way the season works is over a 38-game season, teams accumulate points, and whoever has the most points at the end of a season, they win the league, right? It's not like in America, like the NBA and NFL, where you have a playoff system where it doesn't matter who has the most points at the end of the season, you still have to make a playoff. So in a playoff system, a lower team can upset a bigger team, right? I think that's what's great about American sports. But the thing with Leicester is, you know, every week everyone just kept thinking, okay, there's no way they can do it because it's so improbable. So they're going to drop points. They're going to lose a game. They're going to, you know, drop points, and then someone else who you expect to win the league is going to end up winning it. So no one really wanted to put their neck out there and say they're going to win the league. You know what I mean? Because it was just such a crazy situation. And week after week, everyone was like, okay, wait, they don't lose. They just keep winning and kept winning and kept winning. And, yeah, they did it.
I mean, it's just such a cool story to get behind, too. You know, like, I'm not going to pretend I'm a soccer fan by any means, but I admire the sport. I don't follow it, but man, when you hear that story, it's just like, really, that
I mean,
I could get used to watching some soccer. I mean, because you don't have that aspect. Like, I wish they did that in baseball or like basketball, where it's like if your team isn't that good, boom, you get sent down to the D League. You got to work your way back up, and it keeps fresh. It keeps the play good. I don't know. So I was definitely a fan of that story, man. That's pretty cool. So I figured
yeah,
I
I
definitely had to
mean,
bring
what
it
even
up with
makes
you.
the story crazier is there's just a bunch of sort of individual stories within the Leicester City team that makes the win even that much more exciting. For example, their coach Claudio Ranieri used to coach Chelsea. You know, he got
And
fired
then
and went
Chelsea's
to
the reason why they got in.
exactly. You know what I mean? And without even that,
Holy shit!
he used to coach Chelsea. I think about maybe 9, 10 years ago, and the whole like he got fired because they said he would never win the league. So this is his first title. So think about it. He's coached Juventus. He's coached Inter. He's coached a
Right.
lot of the big sort of like big European teams that have been very successful. And he has never won a top flight title with any of those big teams. And the first team he does it with is Leicester City.
That's almost like a big like fu to everyone who said like he couldn't do it. You know what I mean?
It is. It's the biggest fu ever. And then there's an interview with him. It was after the second week of the season when I think they had won 2 games back to back, and a guy named Gary Lineker, who's Sky Sports, like their lead pundit, and was asking him. He said, "Is it possible that you guys can go for Champions League, Europa League places? Meaning, is it possible that Leicester City finishes the season in the top 4 or top 5?" And he said, "It's not possible. There's no way. It's not possible." And 36 weeks later, they did it. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy story, but it's awesome that it definitely like inspires everyone to. Because now next season, a lot of teams would believe, well, if Leicester did it, we can definitely do it. And it's going to make the season even more exciting next year.
For sure. And you know what, dude? I think that over the I feel like MLS is definitely picking up in America, and soccer
Definitely.
in general is it's creeping back. I mean, I don't know if it's ever going to be one of like the big four, um, sports in America, but it's definitely generating much more of interest, nationally than I remember when we were kids, at least.
No, it is for sure. And I think part of the reason is because we're able to watch more soccer. In
Right.
America. For example, NBC Sports
Yeah.
carries the Premier League, so we can watch
Yeah.
every single Premier League game, Saturday and Sunday morning. Whereas 3,
Yeah.
5 years ago, you couldn't do that. So now it's like if you wake up in the morning on a Saturday and you turn to any NBC station, you find soccer on, you're like, oh, I'll give this a shot, and then you might end up liking it, and then start following
Yeah.
it from there. So the accessibility is definitely a big. It's going to play a big part in more people in America becoming soccer fans.
For sure. All right. Just kind of get back to some questions. If you could tell your 18-year-old self something, knowing what you know today, what would it be?
That's a good question. What was I doing when I was 18? Just never give up. Stay true to who you are and trust your instincts, and always try to be better than your previous self. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's as good advice as you can give to anybody. What were some of the harder decisions you've had to make throughout the process of building this business?
I mean, the first one for me was so as soon as I graduated from Temple, I remember telling my mom and everyone asking me if I was going to go to grad school or get a job. I remember telling her, like, look, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to figure this thing out. And so I have a mentor, and I was like, dude, like, I want to start this. I want to make this business something big, but I have no clue how to. And so it was a hard decision for me to move away from my family, move across the country to Seattle for a whole year to work for my mentor so I can learn how businesses were run and all that kind of thing. And I've never lived away from my family. I'm a very family-oriented guy. And, I've never been more than, 20 miles away from my family. So it was definitely a hard decision to do that. But, in retrospect, I would do it again because I learned so much. And that's definitely helped me become the businessman that I am today. Even beyond that, I think just the decision to keep going with LBF because it's challenging and, we're starting to sort of turn the corner and, people are starting to know about us. But, there were times where it didn't make sense to continue, but we always chose to try harder and go a little bit further. So those decisions are always hard because you never know if it's the right decision. People would call you crazy, like, what are you doing? Dude, go get a job, go do this, go do that. But, we always stuck to what we knew and believed that it would pay off.
Certainly. And I think moving away from home and putting yourself in a new situation where you don't really know it, many people, in the pursuit of learning and becoming better at what you're trying to do, I don't think there's a better scenario to put yourself in. And I think that a lot of people that really become good at what they do, they can look back and say, oh, this one time I moved away and I did X, Y, and Z, and now that put me in position to do what I wanted to do. That's certainly what you did. And who's the mentor?
His name is Richard Tate.
Gotcha.
So if you guys are familiar with the game Cranium, he invented Cranium back in the mid to late 90s. So it was a really popular board game.
That's awesome.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah, so he's like a serial entrepreneur, and then he had a company called Galazzo. They made sort of all natural sports beverages, and so I pretty much worked for them as like a graphic designer while like learning how to run a business, while still they also allowed me to work on LBF while I was I was doing work for them. So it was a very great situation because then I had very little pressure. Like, I definitely had projects to do for them, but at the same time I was learning about my business, about their business, and just getting to create, all while getting paid for it. So definitely, he deserves a lot of credit because he's always supported me, always told me, okay, you can do it, always, giving me perspective when times got hard because, being an entrepreneur is hard enough. But I think it would be a lot harder of a journey without having someone who's been there before and can sort of guide you, and steer you away from the pitfalls of the entrepreneur lifestyle.
So what's that like? Like, so you start off, you sell 21 shirts, and you're like, oh wow, I can do this, and then you start putting together your plan, and then put together, all right, how am I going to sell another 21 shirts, or how am I going to get this out to everyone else? And then you're like 6 months in. What's that like? All right, so you're just starting out. You're definitely still learning. You're probably seeing new shit every day. What's 6 months? You're like, what are you asking yourself?
I mean, 6 months I was still in school, right? So
right.
I was still figuring out, and it was still more of a hobby than an actual business at that point. So it's still just like, okay, I'm making the shirts that I want to make, that I personally want to wear, and I'll just make enough of them to sell to people, and whoever wanted to buy them could buy them. But then maybe 12 months later, it's okay, we're a business now, and we need to have a collection. Like, actually treat this like a clothing business. And so we're going to launch. So our first collection was October 2012. We launched, I believe, a 5-piece collection that has a hoodie, a sweatshirt, a scarf, a track jacket, and a couple of T-shirts. And that was our first, real collection. And people were like, oh, wait a second. This is not just some kid making T-shirts anymore. This is an actual soccer apparel company.
Wow. And what was like the collective response to that?
It was amazing. We got a lot of press for it. I remember one blogger wrote that there had never been a soccer apparel company, an American soccer apparel company, that had that level of product out before. Because prior to that, there was sort of a few companies doing soccer themed T-shirts, but never a full line that, as a soccer fan, you can say, okay, I'm going to go to this website and find really awesome lifestyle streetwear clothes that I can wear that are well designed and look cool and not dorky. And we were kind of the first ones to do that. So that was definitely a huge game changer for us, because then it really put us on the map and said, okay, it's not just some kid making T-shirts. This is an actual, brand that we should take seriously.
Right. I get you. And so it's not like I'm just going to the store and I'm going to buy a jersey that I'm going to wear around. It's another level. It's more casual. It's more, I can wear this out to the bar tonight and I'm not going to look like an idiot.
Exactly. Because for me, I've played soccer my whole life. I have tons of jerseys, but I'm not that guy. If I'm going to go somewhere, out at night, I'm not going to put a soccer jersey on, no matter how much I love the game. So for me, it was about, okay, I wanted to make clothes that look as cool as maybe a a Dolce & Gabbana T-shirt or whatever fashion brands people like that you can wear out at night. Oh, you look fresh, you look cool, but then it's still soccer themed, and then so you still get to express your passion for the game and look cool. You don't look like, oh, why is the guy in the bar with a soccer jersey? There's no soccer games on.
No, that's exactly what those shirts look like, though. I remember seeing, Tom, on your website, the picture of the guy like in the restaurant or like in like juggling or could like do like catching a ball. He's wearing one of those,
Right.
LBF shirts, and Tom has one of those. And I remember like seeing like you wouldn't know that. Yeah, it's like a soccer brand. It just looks like a pretty cool shirt, and you could easily wear that out, or wear that anywhere. So that's smart because I think going back to what you said about NBC, it's the exposure in this country that the sport's lacking. It's the
Right.
exposure to it, and the more that I think Americans see soccer or experience soccer, the more they're going to want to watch it because I don't know about you, Shivo, or you. Like, do any of you guys like commercial breaks in between in a football game? I don't think any of us are like, yeah, it's a commercial break, can't wait. It's like
Right.
I'd rather see the game. And at least with soccer, I know I'm getting 45 minutes of just basically straight soccer.
Right.
It's pretty sweet, and I think it'll catch on a little bit more. But America makes a lot of money off commercials, so it'll
Right.
never take over football.
Right, and I think it's about figuring out that what the balance is, because I think, like you said, people want to watch the game, but then we're
Right.
so used to seeing commercials every few minutes, like, oh, the ball went out of bounds, oh, 2-minute timeout, boom, commercial. But
Exactly.
obviously from a commercial standpoint, companies want as many opportunities to promote their products as possible, and I think NBC does a great job of, for example, like on the scoreboard, they'll have have the Lexus stoppage time. So in soccer you have stoppage time where they add on a couple of minutes depending on how much time the gameplay had stopped during the game.
Yeah.
So they never stop the clock in soccer. You just kind of add time to the end of it. And they'll be like, for example, like the commentator will say, the Lexus stoppage time is 3 minutes, or the Progressive stoppage time is 3 minutes. So they're still getting sponsorships in there, but they're not stopping the game, so they're not taking you away from watching the game. So I think there's definitely opportunity for companies to still get their name and their brands out there. And when you watch a soccer game, all the billboards around are constantly rotating. You're seeing Nike ads, you're seeing Puma ads, you're seeing a bunch of different ads on the display board. So there's definitely ways to still monetize the game without interrupting people from watching it.
Yeah, I think it's going to catch on, and realistically, as much as I love hockey, it could very easily take over hockey.
You think so?
At the end of the day, commercials sell in this country, bro. So maybe, but
Correct.
hockey has a little bit more stoppage time.
Very true. Very true.
So how'd you get hooked up with CJ? Is it Sapon?
Yeah, Sapon, yep.
How'd you get hooked up with him?
Oh, so funny story is, about 3 years ago, he used to play for Sporting Kansas City. He was actually the MLS Rookie of the Year, I believe, 2011. So we knew his PR rep at the time, and she kind of connected us with CJ, and we just had a really good vibe. So back then, we did a collection with him, and I believe it was 2013. So we flew down to Kansas City, we threw a party, we had a 3-piece collection with him and all that. And then a couple of years later, he gets traded to the Philadelphia Union. So we already had a relationship with him, and he just moved here, him being closer in the city.
Wow.
So we've always been good friends with him. It was just a perfect situation where he ends up being traded to the Philadelphia Union, and then, getting to play here. And now, he's doing really well. He's scoring goals. They're top of the Eastern Conference. So, yeah, it's just an all-around good situation right now.
That's sweet, man. Is he and so would you say he's probably someone that the union's going to keep for a while? I mean, he seems like a young guy, only mid-20s. Is he somebody that they can build a team around, or
What's that again?
is he like a player that they could build the team around, or is it kind of like a role player type of guy?
No, I think so. CJ is a big personality. He's sort of very charismatic, and I think they can build a team around him. He just needs, service up top, and he's starting to get that service, and he's scoring. So, I think in Sporting Kansas City was just, a whole bunch of different reasons why he wasn't performing as well as he could be, because his rookie season he did really well. But now in Philadelphia, like he's got a great team around him. The team is going in the right direction, and he's finally getting the service that he deserves. And look what's happening. He's scoring goals. So yeah, I will say he's definitely the kind of player you can build a team around for sure.
How many people work on the operation? Like, how many people work with you guys?
There's like 4 of us total. So there's me, my business partner Dom, and then there's kid Tyler, and Melissa, who's like our project manager.
And like, are they like payroll? Like, are you cutting checks or what?
Nah, so we're kind of all just like doing this as like a super. I know we don't pay ourselves, but different people like who come in and do things like temporarily, we definitely pay them. But as far as like the core team right now, everyone's just trying to build a great brand and a great business. And then when it gets to the point where we feel comfortable, we'll start like cutting serious checks.
Well, you definitely cut a check for this website, dude, because it is top of the line.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we pay for things that we know are necessary and will really sort of grow the business. But for me, I do like a lot of freelance work on the side. I mean, I pretty much do LBF full time. I'm there every day, 10 to 12, 15 hours a day sometimes. But it's just, I love what I do, and I know we're gonna get to a point very soon that it becomes a very recognized brand and business, and we'll be able to to take a pay from it. But for me right now, it's just all about getting it to that point and really just allowing the business to be able to breathe by itself before we start taking from it.
Cool stuff, man. Yeah, it's I just think at this day and age, you have to have a good landing page to go to, right? You have to have a good website matters, and a clean. It's not even just a good website. You can have good content, but it's clean. You know what I mean? It's got a different layout feel than your traditional like standard. I just got this website off of like Wix or or whatever. So
Right.
it's important, man. So that's good stuff.
Thank you. I mean, no, it took us a while to get it to where it's at right now.
Yeah.
But we realized the importance of our website being the face of our business, because we don't have a physical, like a retail store where people can come into and get, experience us as people and talk to us and get to know us, right? Our website's the only way right now for people to do that. And it has to be top notch. It has to be, you come there, okay, this is what the brand's about, like the photography, everything has to be about Live Breathe Futbol. Everything has to speak to what we're trying to accomplish. So that was a very important part that we had to get right.
So speaking of important part, it seems like Maestro is definitely something you're pushing pretty hard. You want to get into that a little bit? That seems pretty cool.
Yeah. So Maestro is, the culmination of pretty much 2 to 3 years of work behind the scenes. So obviously we started doing T-shirts, right? And it was T-shirts, and it was snapbacks, and it was like scarves here and there, a couple of hoodies. But for me, the brand was always about, the lifestyle of soccer, right? Connecting on the pitch, the stuff you play in, with off the pitch and stuff you just kind of wear around. And so Maestro is our first collection that brings those two together, where it says, look, here's a product, for example, there's a pair of pants you can play soccer in. Like, they're sort of designed to be played soccer in. They're very functional, so you can play for hours in them. They're water resistant, super lightweight. But then when you step off the field, you put a T-shirt over it or a button down. Like, it looks very clean. And for us, that was the space our brand needs to live in right now. It's for people who play soccer all the time. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, they might have to go to soccer from work or class or whatever. And we want to start creating products that, enhances that lifestyle. So there's a jacket that's the Maestro jacket, which is kind of which is the flagship product. It's pretty much, water resistant, has a bunch of different features that, if you're a soccer player, okay, this was designed just for me. For example, the zipper is offset, so whenever you control the ball in your chest, the zipper doesn't smash against your chest. It's little details like that we put in the jacket to make sure that it was very functional for soccer players. So we're pushing the whole collection on Kickstarter right now. We launched a week ago. We've already raised half of our goal, $13,000, and we still have 3 more weeks to go to raise the next. I think we have $12,000 left to raise to reach our $25,000 goal. So yeah, we're just pushing it really hard right now. Pushing it on blogs, We got a couple features in different blogs and different websites like Philly Voice, Geekadelphia shouted us out. But yeah, we're just pushing it right now, really, because we think this is the future of what soccer apparel should be. Is, people live this lifestyle where they play all the time and they also work. So it's like, the products that they wear should start informing that lifestyle.
Dude, so you're saying that hood or that like collar can go all the way up to my nose?
Yeah. So
What?
I've played. So when you play soccer, right? Most active jackets come with hoods, right? And
Right.
on the soccer field, when you're running around, you don't want a hood flapping about behind you. It's just kind of distracting. And let's say
Right.
it's raining or something, and you want to put the hood over your head. Well, your peripheral vision is limited. You can't see the whole field, right? You can't see who's behind you, who's coming around you, and that is a very important part of playing soccer, is knowing who's around you at all times. So we decided, well, let's just make a face mask that can keep your face and your ears warm when it's cold outside, and then there's sort of laser perforations in the face mask that are laid out in a 4-4-2 formation. So that way you can breathe through while the face mask is over your face. It keeps your face and your ears warm, but then still allows you to see, all around you. And that was a very key feature for us, because it was like, well, if we're going to make this jacket, it can't have a hood because you can't play soccer with a hood. So it's like little things like that we really took seriously to make sure that it was perfect for every soccer player.
How thick is it?
How
Like,
thick is it?
is it like a windbreaker, or is it like, I mean, what weather would you wear this in?
So it's an all-weather jacket. The jacket weighs, I think, about 12 to 13 ounces. It's a very light jacket. But the way it's designed is when you're playing soccer, right? Only your torso, your core stays pretty warm, but then your hands get cold, your ears get cold. So those parts of the jacket are lined with fleece to keep them warm in extreme temperatures, right? But then the rest of the jacket is lined with mesh, so it draws sweat away from your body. So the parts of your body that get really hot when you're playing are super lightweight, and the parts that get cold are lined with fleece to keep them warm. So the jacket's designed for all weather. So you can wear the jacket in the snow, whatever, but it keeps you warm the whole time, just because of sort of very little details that keep the parts of your body that you need warm.
I would wear this jacket, on a windy day or something. Like, the only thing, I don't want something to cover my head. I just want, something to keep the wind out of my face. So it seems like a really practical jacket if you're not playing soccer.
Right, and that's the beauty of the jacket is, we've built it as a soccer jacket, but you can run in the jacket, you can wear it.
Hell yeah.
Like I ride my bike to the office every day. I ride 8 miles every day, and when it's slightly cold outside or windy outside, I throw the jacket on, and I'm like, wow, this jacket is actually perfect for this as well as playing soccer. And for us, it's really about creating a jacket that's super functional. I mean, there's like at least 9 to 10 different details in the jacket that's perfect. For example, like you can access your headphones inside the jacket, so you can put your headphones in while you're, playing or whatever, and have your phone in your pocket. There's this hidden pocket in the back of the jacket, so you can put, small items like a ball pump, shin guards, socks, like different things that you might need when you're going to play soccer. We thought about all those things because it was important for us to make a jacket that was functional in all conditions, in all situations.
Well, you're doing it, and I think you're doing a pretty darn good job, in my amateur opinion. So we're gonna start with a new section to the podcast called "Best of the Best." It's gonna be a quick Q&A, short, concise answers. There's no wrong answer. So,
Okay.
Ibu, best of the best place in Philadelphia to play pickup soccer.
Penn Park.
All right. Best of the best Philadelphia cheesesteak.
Gyms.
Great answer. Best of the best coffee shop.
La Colombe.
Where's that?
There's one in Fishtown that I go to.
Okay. Best of the best Philadelphia sports team.
Philadelphia Union.
And last one, best app for a startup business.
Best app?
Yeah.
Shopify.
What was that?
Shopify.
What's that do?
It's our e-commerce platform. So we built our website on there.
All right, I like that.
Wait, Shiva, I have one more idea before we end this thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's hear Ebu's bank robber story.
Okay, so when he says bank robber story, this girl we interviewed a couple weeks ago, Antoinette Miner, she worked at a credit union, and she was telling us. We kind of were just talking and stumbled upon this story of her telling us about a time that it got robbed while she was there, while she was working, and what she kind of how she kind of drew it back into the point of the podcast was that, you know, a woman walked up to my counter, slid the note across that said, "Give me all your money." I gave her all the money. She walked right out and nobody noticed. And she said that, you know, I had this like sudden realization that there's like a lot of stuff happening that people aren't aware of, and that some things that may seem like a really big deal kind of aren't. And I just gave her the money. It wasn't my money. I just let her have it, and she ended up getting caught. So
Right.
what we're trying to do is start this. What's your bank robber story? What's like one time or one story where either something just clicked for you, or you had this sudden realization about something, about an idea, about a logo, whatever.
Oh, that's a good one. My bank robber stories. I would say it was when I drew the Maestro jacket. Like, it was the jacket was one sketch. You know, I didn't go through a design iteration. I didn't go through a whole bunch. It was just one sketch, and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is the future of the brand, and that was just it. And from that day on, it was just going in that direction. And that's not as good a story as the bank robber story, but
I don't know if we're gonna ever get one as good as the bank robber story, but I get what you're saying, and that you kind of hit your stride, and it just flowed well.
Yeah, I mean, it was just that. It was. I mean, the sketches. I'm gonna frame the sketch because it was just. I sketched. It was two sketches, and I just stepped back. I was like, okay, this is where we're going. It was clear as day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that was 2 years ago, and now we're finally here, and it's like, the response kind of validates that moment.
Yeah. All right, so for this episode's read of the week, I have a book by Angela Duckworth called Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance. I first heard of this book on a TED Talk that she did, and she ended up writing this book. Basically, the idea of it is the concept of having grit, and that achieving success is not something that a genius has, and that anybody can have it. It's a unique combination of passion and long-term perseverance. It's a pretty cool book. I just got it on Amazon. I sent DFran one, and so we'll start to get into that a little bit more as as time goes on. But that's it for us tonight. Thanks a lot for coming onto the show, Ebu.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it was great. You're doing a lot of really cool things, and anybody that's listening, you can reach out to Live Breathe Football on their website, livebreathefutbol.com. It's spelled Futbol, not like American football. You can check them out on Kickstarter, Live Breathe Football Maestro. Go support them and make all this stuff happen. And then lastly on Twitter, LB Football. And I'll have everything linked below in the show notes so people can check it out. But yeah, thanks again. Thanks a lot for coming on, taking some time to talk to us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, it's been good.
No, this was fun. I'm going to check out that book, Grit, that you guys recommended.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good read. Well, I haven't read it yet, but I imagine it will be.
Author's name?
It's Angela Duckworth.
Okay, Angela Duckworth. I'm going to check it out.
Awesome.
I'm going to add it to my list of books to read this year.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Thanks a lot for being on the show tonight, Ebu. You guys can check him out on Twitter at Mr. LBF. We'll have his website and everything linked below. We also want to thank Brian Turner for creating the music for the podcast. You guys can check him out on iTunes if you just search for Brian Maxwell. Thanks for listening. This has been good, the podcast for those that do.